Hello, Iowa. I'm Scott Casper. Our show, Talk Therapy, adds a clear voice to the discussion on a topic that Iowans face every day, mental illness. The show brings to the airwaves the doctors, therapists, and specialists who understand the unique challenges Iowans face every day. We invite you to join me and my special guest co-host today, Bob Thacker, the Director of Substance Abuse of Central Iowa Psychological Services. Compassionate, whole-person care where you matter. That's their slogan, and I tell you what, it actually works. Our show airs Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 on Iowa's Hope 940 and online at talktherapytmhs.com. Again, that's talktherapytmhs.com. Join in for the conversation on this important life topic. And as we like to say, Iowa, we're listening, and we are indeed. Hello again, everybody. Live from the Five Talents Financial Management Studios, I am Scott Casper, and he's the Director of Substance Abuse at Central Iowa Psychological Service. Bob, good morning. How are you?
I'm good, Scott. How are you this morning?
I'm good. Go ahead, belly right up to that mic. Pull it close to your mouth. I want to make sure everybody hears the dulcet tones. You've been in radio. You've got a history in radio.
I did spend a stint, a couple of years.
A stint?
Yeah, a stint.
Is that a technical term? Danny Bishop, our learned producer. Danny, is stint a broadcasting term?
Stint is, it's actually a very technical broadcasting term. It means you spent a period of time behind the microphone.
And then baseball, for example, would be a cup of coffee. Right? Okay. Well,
correct.
We do want to welcome you, Bob, and appreciate you stepping in for Nick Learhoff, who is off doing something with his wife, and we encourage that often. So he'll be back next week and joining us. But each week we do feature, Bob, as you know, a different topic within the sphere of mental health. And that sphere seems to be growing with the state of the coronavirus and all the pressures and stressors that go along with that. The loneliness, that's huge. And we'll get into that perhaps in the second half of hour one. Joining us are the guests that can help you understand what you may be facing, you listeners, and where you can turn. And who knows, you may hear something or someone that has a problem, has had a problem, or maybe you face it today, okay? It may be a problem that you are facing, and it may ring true. And that's probably the greatest gift we can give to you, and that is a sense of commonality. You're not alone, okay? Our topic this week is autism. And autism is something that's very close to my heart. I've been involved with Wrestle Against Autism. I've spoken, I've been a speaker, I should say, at several different autism events around the country. And I'm not quite an advocate, but I am definitely somebody that is supportive of parents that have to go through finding their way through different services that are available. And helping parents become a solid advocate for their child. And joining us today is a friend of my father's, a friend of mine. Her name is Tasha Hudson. She is both a mother and a healthcare professional. Her 20-year-old son, Jaden, is now in a group home. So she is a parent of an adult child with autism. And that, in and of itself, offers different challenges. And the services that 20-year-old Jaden now is needing are vastly different than 6-year-old Jaden, okay? But she joins us now on the Newsmaker Hotline. Tasha, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
Good. We've muddled our way through the intro of the program, but we do welcome you to the show. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Tasha.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Tasha, let's get down to it. How old was Jaden when he was first diagnosed?
Jaden was 2.5.
2.5. And your immediate response was?
I was shocked. Yeah, really shocked. His doctor, his primary care doctor, didn't notice any symptoms of him having autism.
None at all. And that amazes me. Primary care, generally, that's where it starts, and that's the first individual that will raise a flag. They or their nursing staff, caregivers, will raise a flag, say, hey, you know what? He's exhibiting some traits or some some form of autism, depending on where he's at on the spectrum. But autism, to me, it comes in a variety of different flavors, right?
It does.
Tell me about Jaden now at 20 years old, and how different it was at 2.5, and how he's grown into the 20-year-old son you now enjoy. But Jaden has changed quite a bit over the years, yeah?
Yes, he has. And I think the main thing for me, and like I always express to someone, this is my experience with my son with autism. Jaden didn't show any signs. He talked. He didn't have. He just talked. He said his sister's name. He said mom, dad, everything, and then slowly but surely everything started declining. So he would have to relearn everything all over again. A daycare noticed something in Jaden, and then we started having him test through early access, childhood early access, and then we noticed that he had a form of autism.
Now, is that common where a child with autism has to continually relearn?
It was for Jaden.
Hmm.
Yes, it was for Jaden. He could count. He could do his ABC, and then 3 to 6 months later, he'd have to relearn it again. He'd forget it and then have to learn it again. But Jaden's first sign of the autism was him being fascinated or fixated on an object, and regardless if you told him no, or if you told him to stop, or if there was cars, or if there was animals, he had no sense of fear.
Now, Bob, I know you know your profession. Obviously, you see a lot, you hear a lot, you learn a lot, you ingest a lot. But is that pretty common in the world of autism, where you have somebody like Jaden who fear is a big deal for me? It's almost like, the one that I focus on is the Angelman syndrome, where that individual who's suffering that particular type of autism, where they love everybody and they don't have any fear. You have to lock the house from both the inside and the outside to keep them in. If you're lucky enough to be able to have a service dog, for example, right, that's one of their prime concerns. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Tasha's situation is interesting because with most children we usually see by age 3, signs of autistic behaviors in kids. So hers is unusual that it's daycare age, probably 5, 6 years of age. And so I'm sure at that point it was very anxiety producing for him, and as well as for her and her family.
What was your experience, Tasha? Tasha Hudson, our guest, by the way, mother and a healthcare professional. Her 20-year-old son, Jaden, is now in a group home. What were your experiences as you sought answers, you sought help, you were looking to see what services were available? Because let's face it, it is a disability, and it poses certain challenges. And whether we look at it as a disability or differing ability, I like to think that, for example, I think autistic kids are some of the most loving and caring children ever. It's like a Down's child you see Down syndrome kids, they're just so loving and giving. But I got to believe there are some moments of frustration for you. Is that true?
Just a little bit. Raising Jaden, and 2 other children older than Jaden, I didn't have too much time to cater to Jaden, to cater to Jaden's needs. And mainly because at that time, people weren't talking about autism. People weren't expressing that their child had autism. So most of my experience I went through alone. So I wasn't able to, I had to treat Jaden normal.
Yeah.
And I had to treat him as he was normal. I had to be an example. I had to show him and teach him. And then through my experience, each time I thought it wouldn't get any better with someone helping me, because I was a single divorced mother of 3 with a child with autism. I still had to keep going on through life. I had to keep working. I had to keep providing for my family. But each time that I thought it couldn't get any better, it did. There was always someone at the next step that would point me in the right direction, help guide me and Jaden, and help us get through this long process. And
it is a process because you're learning at the same time what you can do, again, what services are available. And there are services out there and organizations out there. One of them is Autism Speaks. You can find more information about Autism Speaks online. And this is 2020, by the way, the year they've designated as the year of kindness for people with autism, with a bold goal to achieve 1 million acts of kindness, big and small. We endorse that and encourage that, autistic or not. I mean, let's face it, we're here for such a short period of time. Why waste our time in being anything but kind and being everything that we can possibly be? Our guest is Tasha Hudson. Tasha, we're going to ask you to sit through the break if you don't mind. It's a short one, but we'd like to continue our discussion with you on the other side of it. Folks, you're listening to Talk Therapy, the mental health show, brought to you by our good friends at St. Gregory's. The great folks at St. Gregory's believe that there is a different way that you can seek sobriety from either alcohol or substance abuse, and you can do it by looking first online, then give them a call. Guys like Jimmy and others, intake specialists, will be able to determine whether or not you're a good fit at St. Gregory's. I guarantee you, you owe it to yourself to take that extra step. And if you think that you want to get a differing opinion, I would invite you to talk to people like Bob. Bob Thacker is our special guest in studio today, and he is a specialist when it comes to substance abuse and alcohol in particular. We love that, Bob, that you've been able to focus on that for so many folks. So we're going to take that break. Stay tuned. There's more. You're listening to Hope 940, and this is Talk Therapy.
Stay tuned. There's more with Nick Learhoff and Scott Casper right here on Iowa's 940 for St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show. Iowa, we're listening.
I came to St. Gregory very reluctantly at my all-time worst, physically, emotionally, and mentally. But I gave my best effort to these new things in my life as I saw hope in this complete approach. I'm at the point now that I feel my strongest and best ever, physically, mentally, and emotionally. I felt quite certain God was orchestrating everything.
St. Gregory Recovery Center. Recovery starts here. RelevantRadio.com/St. Gregory.
All right, welcome back. It is St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show here on Hope 940. Good morning to each and every one of you. Taking Nick Learhoff's place on this particular episode of the show is our friend Bob, and Bob Thacker is with Central Iowa Psychological Services, okay? And you can find them online, compassionate whole person care where you matter. And Bob, there is something that I saw on your website, and I have taken it to heart, and that is the great need of the human heart is to feel listened to and understood by self and others. Now, that relates to our topic today, and it relates really to life. But self is the key word in there for me. Am I missing the point, or have I nailed it?
No, you have absolutely nailed it. So okay. That is certainly what, we try to help folks with, is to, find within themselves their value and the things about them that, that they can really hold on to. And so we help them take a good look into themselves, and that is the direction we work with everybody.
I love it. I love it. Tasha Hudson is our guest. Our topic today, autism. And when I say that the human heart has great needs, and the most important or the greatest need is to be listened to and understood. Tasha, at any point in time, did you feel as if people really weren't listening to you?
really, I think at that time, I didn't pay too much attention to who was listening. I didn't ever feel that. I was determined that I was going to help my son.
Okay, it sounds like, are we having phone difficulties, or Tasha, did you put us on speaker?
No.
Okay. All
Is
right.
that better?
Yes, it is. You sound
Okay,
great.
I'm sorry.
Tasha Hudson, our guest. Being a healthcare professional as well, and then having Jaden at 2.5 diagnosed with autism, there's a reason you're in healthcare. Obviously, you care. My father has described you as being one of the most caring people that he's ever met in the profession of healthcare. And I think that's high praise indeed, because he's normally very critical. Well, you know my dad. But he loves you, and he loves the compassion you have. Were you finding the school system, for example, was it compassionate to Jaden? For real, he can't be the first autistic child that needs to be taught, or has needed to be taught in the school system. But what was the response from the school system and his educational pursuits?
Everything was wonderful, and I think it's a reflection of me and what I brought to the table to represent my son. If you're not strongly an advocate for your own child, then nobody else will be. You might find one of those needles in a haystack that will, because they're compassionate about it, just like you are.
Right.
But if you're not an advocate for your own child and what it is that you want for them, then nobody else will be.
So it starts.
Because it's an overwhelming process.
It starts at home, though, is
Yes.
what you're saying.
It does.
And I've said that about education all along, that it really starts at home. If your kid does not receive any kind of discipline at home, and the parent expects that to take place at school, you apparently missed something when you were growing up, because that's not the way it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah, no,
It's
sure
not.
not.
But boy, therein lies many of the problems we see today in today's modern day society. When you think of Jaden now in a group home, what was that decision like to move him out? Because he's aging out of, is he at Ruby Van Meter?
He's with Child Serve Group Home.
Child Serve Group Home. Okay, by the way, Gino Hildreth says to say hello.
Oh, hello.
I just saw him 2 days ago. He's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
But obviously cares enough. He not only remembered Jaden, but remembered you as well. What advice would you give a parent who has just found out their child has been diagnosed? Maybe the child is 5 or 6 years old. What advice would you give those parents on the first steps and how to wrap their arms around this? Because this is really a life challenge.
Well, my grandson is 3.5, and he's been diagnosed with having autism.
Okay.
The advice that I gave my daughter is close to heart, because we've been through it. So you got to go through your emotions. First of all, a parent has to go through their emotions, and it's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to be upset. But then you just got to hit back at it and be like, okay, what steps am I going to take to help this child? What steps, what services are provided? So for my daughter, it's just like bouncing off of me. I'm able to point her in the right directions. And I think people need to speak up about it. People need to speak up, and that don't know, just speak up about it. And there's always someone who is willing to share. We're not comparing. We're just being available to share our experience, and it maybe point someone in the right direction.
Challenges, I focus on that word because to me it would be a challenge. It then becomes every day, but initially the challenges have to be great. What is the greatest challenge you've had to work through and work around with Jaden?
I think my biggest challenge was trying to find the right medications to keep Jaden on a steady level. With his autism, so many things come into play, but medications have different side effects. So besides Jaden having autism, Jaden is a lot like his mother. And so his mother has anxiety. His mother has OCDs. He has things that he's gotten and has experience of life through me. So finding the right medications and the right balances have been the hardest for us.
Tasha, as I mentioned, you have my father's admiration and mine as well. Jaden, now in a group home situation, is surrounded by others that he lives with that have a variety of different challenges, and they're not all autistic, correct?
They're not.
They're not. And how has he been relating to his housemates, as it were?
Jaden is doing amazing during this COVID and everything else and stuff. I have to give a big shout out for his staff and his housemates. They are like brothers. They are just like friends. They love Jaden just as much as I love Jaden. And it's just been a wonderful experience. But they also know that I am a hands-on mother. So Jaden is not he's not out of state. I'm able to see Jaden. I'm able to see Jaden, provide for Jaden, speak for Jaden, and just still love Jaden as if he was here at home with me.
No restrictions as to when you can see him or how you can see him? Or is that structured?
There is for right now because of COVID.
I see.
But before the COVID, I was able to see Jaden 30 days. He would have 30 days of overnights a year, and then I would have 15 extra days, emergency days, and I would use all those 45 days.
Wow. Well,
I was just going to say that's just having those other folks, there for her and for her son is so important, so crucial to have that kind of care that's like family,
right,
for her. And so she's very fortunate to have people taking care of him that are that kind and supportive.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you can find support in a variety of different ways. Are there groups? And let's face it, when people get together, burden is best shared, right? Many shoulders make the load that much lighter. So my question to you is: are there small groups, groups of parents and experts that initially you sought out, and are you still participating in that type of situation?
Before the COVID hit, there was a group that was starting to form of parents that were starting to put all our resources together and all our knowledge together. But COVID took place, and so that was the first group that I have ever joined to get to this next step of adulthood for autism. But COVID has slowed down a lot of things.
A lot of things, yeah. I have a hard time keeping Clorox wipes. I just try to find them in the store. It's tough. It's tough. Mm-hmm. Remember when Kleenex and toilet paper were an issue? Now, all of that production was stepped up, and all of a sudden you got toilet paper coming out your ears.
Not a shortage right now.
No shortage, sure. No.
Yeah.
There's people with 1,000 rolls of toilet paper at home going, I'm never going to have to buy this again.
Yes.
Sam's Club is going, I got so much toilet paper. What are we going to do with all that inventory? Our guest has been Tasha Hudson. Tasha, know that you are a beacon both as a mother and a healthcare professional, but also a mother of an adult child. People often look at an autistic child and then they forget that they are eventually going to be an autistic adult. And society isn't always kind. I think that's part of our mission on this program, is to talk about things that some may look past because it's not part of their everyday discussion. But I want to make it so. I want to make it so it's easy to understand and easy to talk about. And hopefully you'll agree to come back on our program and let us know how Jaden's doing.
I will anytime you need me.
Serious?
Yes.
How's this afternoon around 2? No, just kidding. Just kidding. We love you, Tasha. Be good. Give our best to Jaden, okay?
I will. Thank you guys so much.
There we go.
You take good care.
Tasha
Thank
Hudson.
you.
She's a good one. I love that gal. All right, folks, there is some help out there available. We have a couple different things on our website, a couple different sites you can go to, autismspeaks.org and autismia, that's autismiowa.com. Two organizations with one common goal, and that is to be helpful, to disseminate information to each and every one of you that might be in need of it. So make sure you take a look at our resources that are out there, including NAMI, Central Iowa Psychological Services, National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and Autism Speaks and Autism IA. You're listening to St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show, and we'll be back more with Bob Thacker, the Director of Substance Abuse of Central Iowa Psychological Services. I'm Scott Casper. He's Danny Bishop. Stay tuned. Back after this.
St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show, will continue after this commercial timeout.
The folks at St. Gregory were vital in helping me to get my brother into rehab. They were not only supportive of him, but of our whole family. They truly saved all of our lives with their love and kindness. Because of the hard work they helped my brother do, we regained a valued, healthy, and incredible part of our family. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
RelevantRadio.com/St. Gregory, setting the new standard for recovery.
Welcome back to St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show. Scott Casper with you, and our very special in-studio guest. I'm so glad he took the invitation to fill in for Nick today, and that is Bob Thacker. Bob is the Director of Substance Abuse of the organization called Central Iowa Psychological Services. Now we're going to get down to it. Bob, ready?
All right.
Tell us about Central Iowa Psychological Services. How was it founded?
So we started back in the 1980s in locations in West Des Moines and in Ames, and we have grown over the years.
Right.
And initially we provided strictly mental health services, and with some very, very good clinicians. Warren Phillips.
Now, there's the name I know and I respect, but I didn't realize how long. I mean, he was the originator, right? The founder.
Well, it was him and another gentleman that actually started the practice. Actually, the other gentleman started the practice, and then Warren came on.
Okay,
yeah,
I had it
then,
reversed.
Yeah.
Okay,
and then eventually he took over the practice, and he's grown it over the years. And
how old is Warren now?
Oh God, I think he's 51, 52.
Okay.
And if
So
Warren,
we
if
still
that's
got a few
wrong,
more
that's,
years to go
that's
with him.
not my fault. So,
Happy birthday.
happy birthday! But he's in his early 50s. So
You guys cover a lot of ground. So your specialty would be alcohol, substance abuse, dealing with the basic factors and basic problems that may be underlying, and you're not able to, as an individual, recognize what those are. You help peel back the layers of that onion, yeah?
yeah, absolutely. We help people. I kind of use an analogy of a jigsaw puzzle, and
Right.
where your life is a jigsaw puzzle, and frankly, a lot of people do not have all the pieces to their puzzle, or they may have some of the pieces to their puzzle, but not know where they go or know where they fit in.
Isn't it interesting, though? We all think we've got it going on. But
Well, we do oftentimes think we've got it going on, and it's amazing how when people, don't see some things about themselves, and they become aware and light bulbs turn on. It's very exciting to watch that happen. For people.
I was just going to say that. What's it like for you? Okay, because you are a caregiver, an essential caregiver, because even today, even more so today, it's very evident with alcohol sales through the roof. Somebody told me over 200% in the state of Iowa alone.
Yeah.
Is that real?
It's real, yeah. And we've seen that. The influx of folks into our practice has increased substantially over the course of this whole COVID pandemic. So,
wow.
And people are, and as time goes, the longer we go into this pandemic, it's been very, very difficult for folks. So,
all right. So you brought up pandemic. I've got to go there.
Okay.
I've got to go, and perhaps you can help our listeners understand that you go to, let's take the elder care assistant. You go to the store and you pick up another fifth of Jack Daniels for, mom and dad, or mom or dad, or whatever the Gilby's gin, or whatever it is, that, maybe they start off with a hot toddy or Tom Collins or whatever the drink is at 5:00, and that morphs into a 5:30 and a 6, and then an after dinner drink, an aperitif.
yeah.
Any of those fancy words. I think they came up with the fancy words, the descriptors, to make themselves feel less guilty.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to say, drink or cocktail. But legitimately, we have to be aware that we are helping to medicate our parents, in-laws, or what have you, by being a supply line for them. If we're doing their shopping,
Right.
and let's face it, when the facilities go out and shop for these people, they usually get what's on the list, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So at what point during this pandemic does it become problematic? I mean, we're seeing more of it. We're hearing more about it, but there's a tipping point for everybody.
Well, I mean, I think there needs to be a sensitivity. Everybody needs to be aware that with everything that's gone on this year, 2020 has been a very tumultuous year for everyone.
It has.
And, people want to escape. They want to escape the stress of it all. They want to escape the anxiety. They want to escape the depression that they have. I've seen that with a lot of our clientele this year, where it's just overwhelming, and we bounce from one thing, and then we're in a year of, an election year, and that's
right.
been very, very difficult, and everything's changed for everybody.
Is it fatigue?
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we're seeing emotional fatigue, too much news, too much negative news.
Oh,
too many lies.
absolutely. I mean, I've told
Mistruths.
several of our people to, just turn the news off, stop watching it. It just puts you in a bad place.
So it's a state of depression.
It is, yeah.
And dealing with, and I'm going to keep focusing on you, Bob, because you're here, but dealing with, and I've been very open about my history, and that is I dealt with something that was depressing me, okay, by self-medicating with alcohol, and it got out of hand.
Right.
Okay, I have no cravings. I'm fortunate. I have no cravings today. I don't anticipate having any tonight.
Right.
I'm never going to say never, but I don't know that there's anything out there that would be a trigger for me, and that's a key word, right? Trigger?
Well, it is a key word because certain things do trigger people. And
Yeah.
I think for people that are dealing with any addiction or any mental health illness, your awareness has to be there always. You can't ever stop being vigilant about what you're dealing with.
That's constant care.
It is constant care. Yeah.
And it's also helpful. And I remember I can't remember who told me, but it's called treatment talk. And they said you must change your playgrounds and your playmates.
Yeah.
But that's only part of the picture, right? I mean, you can change your playground and playmates, but still have a spiritual absence, I should say, that leaves you wanting. In other words, you're still empty.
Right. Yeah.
So you could be what we call a dry drunk.
Sure.
Okay. And that may be as bad or even worse in some instances, because all of a sudden it's starting to exhibit in a variety of different ways throughout one's life, throughout one's day. Mm-hmm. And we have to be cognizant of that. In many of, and let's face it, I was serious for about 8 months. It wasn't a lifetime of it, but surely there was a build because it started off as a casual drinker, and I understood what it did, and then medication that says specifically on the bottle, do not mix with alcohol. But okay, the tough guy that I am, right? Apparently the ignorant tough guy that I am, thought I was above all that.
Right.
Okay.
I got this.
You
right.
get, I had it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Well, guess what? The body shop and I became very good friends. Thank God they were friends prior to that. But the reason I don't want to make light of it, but in having the conversation, know that you're not alone. Okay. Now, if you're listening to this show and you didn't stop drinking until 2, 3, or 4 in the morning, chances are there's an underlying problem here. Chances are you can talk to somebody like Bob, and I would encourage you to talk to Bob or his fellow practitioners, because they can help you discover what that underlying factor is. And that some people call them demons. And I truly believe that we need to investigate any and all opportunities and avenues, right, to find oneself again, because we weren't born alcoholic, right?
Well, so possibly you were, because we know there's genetic predisposition for folks.
So that was a trick question.
So that geneticism absolutely is there for a lot of folks, and I've done thousands of evaluations over my career, and that geneticism holds true probably in the 90% of clients.
That much?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize it was that high.
Very, very high.
Okay.
So we know, and if you look at any of the studies today, that alcoholism, drug addiction is a genetic brain disease. We know that, and all the studies show that.
What's
very
missing?
Clearly. What do you mean? What's missing?
What's missing? If it's a genetic disease, a brain disease, there's got to be a component, a substance missing that allows it to not only amplify but really become so prevalent that it takes over one's life.
Well, it's the brain's chemistry for
it.
someone that's dealing with it. The neurochemistry of that individual is different than someone that does not have that predisposition. Any other disease that there is, diabetes, heart disease, things like that, we understand and know that that's genetic.
Right.
But for some reason we think the brain is a different organ than the rest of the organs of our body.
What's the biggest organ in the body?
Your skin.
Skin. What's the second biggest organ in the body? I think it's the brain, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the brain. Yeah.
And we know so little.
Yeah.
But you know what, folks? Here, I'm going to give you a website right now and a phone number, okay? Central Iowa Psychological Services can be found online at iowacounseling.com. Again, that's iowacounseling.com. Their phone number, 888-277-9246. Again, 888-277-9246. More with Bob Thacker as St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show, continues. After this, you're listening to Hope 940.
Stay tuned. There's more with Nick Learhoff and Scott Casper right here on Iowa's 940 for St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show. Iowa, we're listening.
The folks at St. Gregory were vital in helping me to get my brother into rehab. They were not only supportive of him, but of our whole family. They truly saved all of our lives with their love and kindness. Because of the hard work they helped my brother do, we regained a valued, healthy, and incredible part of our family. From the bottom of my heart, thank you.
RelevantRadio.com/St. Gregory, setting the new standard for recovery.
It is St. Gregory's Talk Therapy. I hope you have a hot cup of coffee, round 2 on the coffee or tea. My mother-in-law at 98 still enjoys a hot cup of tea in the afternoon, about 3, and that settles her down so she can get ready for dinner. All right. Now, we're talking with Bob Thacker. He is our guest, Nick Learhoff, this afternoon, or this morning, I should say.
No, I was just wanted to say I hope he's enjoying himself with the time off, and that he's working on his golf game. So that's all I want to say.
Well, now,
so Nick will appreciate that.
Nick, I do well on the golf course. Is that true?
So I wouldn't say that. So he has his moments.
We all do. It's called the first tee, and then after that, my game goes downhill. I can't wait till the end of 9 so I can go home and put my clubs away. I only do like 4 or 5 golf outings a year because that frustrates me so much.
Yeah.
And, of course, everybody waits till the 18th or 19th hole or whatever that is midway on whatever golf course. Yeah. But I found that did improve my game either. Tall, cold ones are there for a reason, to make the golf course money, and that's it.
That's it.
Bob Thacker, our guest. And, Bob, people call your offices, and they are located in Ames, Ankeny, and West Des Moines?
That's correct.
All right.
Yep.
You have some very talented people you work with. What specialties do they cover, and what types of services are provided?
Yeah, so we pretty much provide everything you can provide for outpatient services when it comes to mental health and substance abuse services. We have mental health counselors that work with depression, anxiety, all kinds of different mental health issues. We have marriage and family therapists on staff that help folks with marriage counseling, couples counseling. We have psychiatric nurse practitioners in all of our locations that will provide individuals with medications to help them with whatever they're dealing with. And we provide a full array of substance abuse treatment services, intensive outpatient, extended outpatient treatment services. And then in July of this year, we started providing TMS services for depression and transcranial. You gotta ask me.
You've gotta help us on transcranial. There is a. Is it new for you guys?
It's a new service.
Okay,
yeah. So it's transcranial magnetic stimulation of the brain.
And how does that work?
Okay, so
it's not a secret.
So this is not my area of expertise.
Okay.
But what I do understand with it is that we have a chair in our location in West Des Moines, and
a comfortable chair,
very comfortable chair. Folks come in and they're set up to receive some magnetic stimulation to the frontal lobes of their brain, and that apparently helps with depression. It's well tested, FDA approved, very safe to do.
Is that something we could say? I'd like to sample things. Yeah. Is that something we could send Danny, our producer Danny, over to try?
Oh, I think he'd really enjoy it. Yeah.
Danny, are you in?
Yeah, it sounds great to me.
We can go together.
Sure.
What is it? A half-hour session? Something like that? Half hour?
Yeah.
I'd like to go the full 2 hours.
Compare it to laughing gas.
Yeah.
And then I'll try it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's we've been trying to treat depression successfully with folks for years and years and years, and this is new, and it's well tested and very safe for people.
So all tools that are available, that's what Central Iowa Psychological Services has to offer. Insurance coverage, pretty much.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
knowing that the financial burden is shared is huge for a lot of folks, because some people may think that they can't afford to get better, and yet they wallow in their current condition and probably going the exact opposite direction.
Right.
Is that frustrating for you as a professional, seeing somebody that really does want to get better but is not willing to totally embrace the concept that somebody else may know better and be able to teach and help you understand? Is that frustrating?
Yeah. I mean, to some varying degree, it's frustrating. I just know from working with folks for years that you can get them there.
Yeah.
If they come in and there's some denial and some difficulty with wrapping their head around what they're dealing with, I know that you can get folks there. If you're kind and caring and loving and supporting with them, and they trust you,
that's huge.
As a clinician, and they'll get there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll get there.
There's obviously, again with the pandemic, we have to be cognizant of the varying degrees of loneliness, right?
Sure.
And some of it is brought on by the facilities that the elderly live in. Some of it is brought on by just sheer fear, okay, of going out of the house for fear that they may catch this dreaded disease.
That's the fear of the unknown.
It is.
I mean, it's so much fear of the unknown, which for human beings is a very, very difficult place to be.
Right.
And we have received so many different messages about what to do with this pandemic.
Has it been confusing
Oh
for
my Lord!
everybody?
It's like initially it was like, oh, you don't wear a face mask. That's not going to help. Initially.
Thank you, Dr. Fauci.
Yeah, and then it became, and that didn't even make logical sense to me. And so. And now everybody's wearing masks, which I think is necessary for the time being.
Right.
And I try to remind people all the time, this is not new in our history. We've had pandemics, for eons. When I was, this is going to date me a little bit, but when I was younger, there was, we had the polio pandemic, and we had,
I forgot about that one.
Scarlet fever and rheumatic fever.
Rheumatic.
We had measles, mumps, chicken pox. I was vaccinated for all of those things when I was a kid. And
do you still have the mark on your arm?
I probably do.
Yeah, it hurt like heck. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
shot? It was
sure
a gun.
Yes. And those were major pandemics, and a lot of people died when we had those. But what we did find is that we found vaccines and therapeutics and ways to treat it. And so I remind people that this is not new. If people can just do what they need to do and be patient over this period of time, we'll get back.
There is hope that there is a vaccine? I think we're entering stage 3 in several of the trials, right?
Yeah.
So is it safe to pin some hope on the future that we will be able to start to get our arms around this? It's going to be a while before we can go mask free. I'm pretty confident of that, no matter what. Right. I think some were hoping for the so-called herd immunity, where a certain population is starting to pass it on, and hopefully everybody gets it. Everybody's going to get like the flu, the traditional flu, if there is such a thing. Everybody has an opportunity to get the flu every year, and once you've had it, chances of you getting it again are probably pretty good. But were we hoping for that, and is that a realistic hope, or is that something that we should be better putting our efforts and our thoughts and our prayers toward a true vaccine?
Yeah, I think it's so unknown right now. We know with the flu vaccines that we have to change those every year, and so does this COVID pandemic with that virus, does it change over time? We don't know that at this point, but I think it's safe to say that there will be vaccines that will help mitigate this, and that there will be therapeutics that treat it so that people may get sick from it, but it doesn't take their life, and I think that's what's really, really critical.
I saw numbers of people that are volunteering for the live trials. 350,000 people is what they're looking for. And there is a genuine fear by certain segments of our population that they don't want to be part of that sampling, if you will. And we need a good, solid cross-sampling of what is America, the makeup, the racial makeup of America, in order for it to be a true understanding and a true sampling and a true success. And we hope it is successful. But is it realistic to think at some point this year that we might see a vaccine? I mean, you've heard that come out of the White House and out of Congress itself that November looks to be a bright month.
Right. I mean, they're telling states to prepare, to be able to inoculate folks in their states and before the end of the year, or at least by the beginning of next year. And so they are talking about there being a vaccine available possibly in November.
Wow.
So
Could be a November to remember. Danny, how much time left in the program? I don't want to run you up against the clock too tight, but
We've got about 2.5 minutes.
2.5 minutes. Bob,
Yeah.
let's do this. Your invitation to give an invitation to our listeners to utilize your services, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would say that if you're dealing with any of the stresses that we were just talking about in regards to the COVID-19 pandemic and some of the anxiety and difficulties, call our offices. We have some very, very loving, kind clinicians in all of our locations in Ames and in Ankeny and in West Des Moines that would be more than happy to help you work through some of those things. So,
well, hopefully in the future you'll be able to come back on and join us on a regular basis. That would be my pleasure. I hope you take the opportunity to do so as we delve into different topics: bipolar disorders, military, veterans, PTSDs, the essential role mental health plays in diverse and inclusive workplaces, the stigma professional athletes face regarding mental health. So many different things that we have to talk about, and I'm only just touching on it. And alcohol and addiction, that's a root for me, and we want to be very, very good at having that conversation and also opening it up. And to talk about is one thing, but to have some answers from the professionals that can help, well, that's so very important. I want to thank our friends at Five Talents Wealth Management. They're our sponsor of our studios, and they do a good job. They can take care of each and every one of you. I know you'll hear their commercial a couple different times during the program, and we hope you take them up on their invitation to do business with them. They can help you and take some of the worry and stress off of you. For all of us, I do want to thank our producer, Danny Bishop, our executive producer, of course, Joshua Ridditz. Bob Thacker's been our very special guest, and Nick Learhoff will be back next week. I'm relatively sure of that. But this has been another edition of St. Gregory's Talk Therapy, the mental health show. And remember, Iowa, we're listening, and so are you, on Hope 940.